We are live for a new episode of the Electric Podcast. I am Fred Lambert, your host, and as usual, I'm joined by Seth Wintraub. How are you doing today, Seth?
I'm good.
All right, this episode of the Electric Podcast is brought to you by Electrify America, the largest public fast charging network for electric vehicle in North America. We're gonna have a little bit more to say about them later on in the show. Stay tuned for that. We're gonna start off the show with Tesla's earnings because that was this week on Wednesday, and it was unsurprisingly record earnings after this record deliveries that happened. That happened the same quarter, but it was released a few weeks ago. And the expectation, because of those record delivery, the expectation were high, but Tesla mostly met those expectations. The revenue a little bit down from based on the Estimize website. The Wall Street was expecting 14 billion and earnings of 1.59 per share, and Tesla delivered 13.7 billion, so 7.5, so 250 billion dollar off of their earnings, which sounds like a lot, but on 13 billions, it's not that much. And but they had a significant beat on earnings at 1.86 dollar per share versus again 1.59. So that's a big beat on that front. Record gross margin, automotive gross margin at 30.5%, which is amazing. Record operating margin, operating profit. And however, the cash on end went down to 16.1 billion because this actually repaid a lot of debt the last quarter. So overall, the balance sheets looks better, but the cash on end is down. But at 16.1 billion, I don't think Tesla is in any trouble for now, especially the trajectory they're looking at. But yeah, the big thing in the actual report was gross margin related. Like this is Tesla increasing really. If you look here, Tesla's first quarter was 26.5, last the Q2 28.4, and now 30.5, and that's despite Tesla claiming that they have like significant supply chain issues that creates cost pressures for them. Also, we know that logistics, any kind of logistic cost, transport and everything, it's super expensive these days. Containers are expensive. The trucks are expensive. The trains are expensive. Everything's expensive right now. So the fact that they are increasing their gross margin amongst that is something else. Of course, you have to link that to the pricing. Tesla's prices have increased a lot during that timing. So we've been reporting a lot on the Model 3, the base Model 3 going up like $4,000 this year. Model Y is something similar. So we as customer are paying the cost for that, but Tesla is basically trying to achieve their gross margin goals despite those cost increase, and they're doing that with pricing right now.
Yeah, it's you bring up a really good point. A lot of times when we cover Apple obviously as well. When Apple gross margins grow a lot, you hear Apple fans go, "Hey, that's great," but really that's just you. They're paying a lot more for their products than it obviously costs Apple to make them. This is the same thing. Like if you're a Tesla investor, margin growth is fantastic. If you're a Tesla owner, you kind of don't want to hear like too much of that because that just means you're paying a lot more than it costs to make the vehicle. And obviously they make a great product, so why not charge a lot for it? Charge what you can make, can get, and obviously they're having a hard time making enough of them. So adding a little cost is not going to hurt their demand. So on one hand, if you're an investor in Tesla and you see the gross margin go up to 30%, you're like, that's good. But if you're thinking about buying a Tesla, you're like, I don't know.
Yeah, and but obviously, I think it's also good in general for electric vehicles because it shows other automaker like, look what kind of, because the other automakers, especially right now, that a 30% gross margin is not attainable for them. So they
Right.
look at that, they're like, all right, these guys are only selling electric cars and they're getting that kind of gross margin. This is good signals to send the industry, I think. So that's what. The shareholder letter was pretty plain. Other than that, like normally Tesla is like kind of sneaking some news and anything like that. It was kind of low on that. We're gonna get to that of a little bit of news that we get from it. Oh, why is it telling me to back up? Yeah. Okay. And really, the conference call after it was also a little bit more plain than usual because Elon wasn't on it. He did signal that last uh was it the last earnings call? Yeah, it was on the
Yeah.
last earnings call that he did say that he won't be attending those anymore,
Well, he said,
which
I'm not going to be attending it by default anymore.
yeah, by default. So it might still pop up every now and again. And I mean, I don't know about it. Like, it's some people say, "Oh, Elon's time is so important that they shouldn't spend his time on that." But then, like, he's the CEO of the company. There's not a lot of companies out there where the CEO, like the top executive of the company, is not present at the quarterly check with investors and analysts. Like this is like the shareholders asking questions and analysts following the market, keeping an eye on Tesla. Like it's pretty standard, but Elon is above that apparently. um
Well, I didn't listen to the whole thing because it was getting kind of boring. But like to me, it kind of felt like all the questions had been pre-selected beforehand, and all the answers were kind of being read off afterwards.
yeah,
So it's kind of like maybe he, checked off on all the questions and answers, and then was like, "All right, dispatch, go do that."
yeah. So here's the thing, like, I don't want to take anything away from the executive that were on the call, like Lars Morvery, the Drew Baglino, and all those guys are great. Like, they
Yep.
great engineers, the great executive, great leadership. Um, they don't have the same freedom as Elon has to
Exactly.
respond to the question. Like, they know that there's someone above their head, and they want to please that person. They don't want to like do anything wrong, so they have limitations. So they have to operate with that. And like you said, it sounded like, at least for all the say technologies question, because then of
Right.
course this the last period with this analyst question. But let's be honest, normally the say question a lot better than analyst questions. Well, I
Always.
mean, it's democracy, like in the or upvoted and everything too, so that generally works better. But anyway, those were all, like you said, they had their answers ahead of time, and most of them they were pretty bland. Like they really didn't release any new information. Like they would even say it, as you've seen recently, as we already discussed. Like they were always like referring back that there's no news here. Don't pick this up as news, which of course for us is not great as reporters on this, but we'll survive. One tiny bit of information that I thought was really interesting was that Tesla confirmed that they achieve an annual run rate of 1 million electric cars. We kind of gave them that when they released the delivery numbers that last quarter with a production of 237,000 vehicles. It's not quite 250, which would give you an annual run rate of a million, but I mean it's pretty close. And but what Zach Kirkhorn said during Tesla CFO said during the meeting, the conference call, he said that they achieve an annualized production run rate of over a million cars towards the end of the quarter. So that means that probably on a weekly basis, if you annualize that, they achieve over a million cars a year, which is incredible. And it looks good for Q4, unless there's the supply chain issues get worse or anything like that. Tesla should be good to surpass then 250,000 units produced, and maybe deliver more than 250 units. But I mean, if Elon is right, because if you remember, we've been reporting a lot on that last quarter. The delivery wave last quarter was extremely painful for Tesla, extremely painful for Tesla employees, as it's often the case. Though I talked to quite a few Tesla employees, and some of them were like, "Yeah, I mean, it was like it's always like that." They didn't
Right.
see it as much worse than usual, but the volume was there was a lot more volume than usual, so that there's no doubt about that. The stats show that. But Elon said that they would even let deliveries slip into Q1 2022 in order to smoothen the delivery wave at the end of the quarter. So, because if you look at the delivery versus production last quarter, the deliveries were significantly higher than production, like almost 5,000 units or something like that.
Right.
So maybe it won't be the case this quarter. So something to keep a look at. But yeah, a million annualized production rate is incredible for Tesla. Like, if you remember, just a few years ago in 2013, Tesla was producing 20,000 cars a year. Now they get to a million. It's night and day, really.
Yeah, and they said Shanghai is now outproducing Fremont, so theoretically that's over 500,000.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at they always have this chart that they update in the quarterly result, and this is the install annual capacity. So if you look, actually, Shanghai is still below Fremont. Fremont is but of course we know that's the install and production capacity is not exactly the same. Like they said that they can produce 100,000 units of Model S in next year. That's not true right now. They need to ramp that back up after the refresh, and even Model 3, Model Y doesn't make much sense. So I think they have the capacity there, but they probably cannot run it with the supply chain issues, maybe. So that's probably more the problem. While Shanghai has been extremely not resilient in the supply chain problems.
Hmm.
And oh yeah, speaking of production, a little tidbit of information that Zachary dropped to is that while Tesla still expect to start production at Berlin and Texas this year, we shouldn't expect deliveries from those from those production facilities this year. So production could start, but not deliveries. And he did say that there's regulatory approval in place too, because those new Model Y are going to be significantly different from the Model Ys that Tesla produces right now. So
Right.
they're going to have to get approved to get to EPA testing and uh, safety testing and everything. So uh,
That
something
might be a
to
ways off.
yeah, and on top of it, we just learned this week that Tesla had a significant setback in Berlin where they have to go through the objection process, the online object consultation with the local citizens again because of a technicality where they claim that there wasn't enough notice or something like that, and now they have to go through the whole process again, which is going to run from I think the November 2nd to the 22nd. So they have to go through the whole process again. It's going to be open for almost the whole month of November. Then they have to review that again, and then Tesla might be able to get approval. So it looks like approval won't arrive until at least December, and even then, that might be ambitious. So German bureaucracy is still a challenge for Tesla at Gigafactory Berlin. Maybe we can invite again our new friend David from Tesla Wealth to look that up. All right, another kind of little tidbit of an announcement from Tesla during their earnings is that they plan to triple the size of the Supercharger network within the next 2 years. So that was confirmed by Drew Baglino, Tesla's basically de facto CTO now, but officially the senior vice president of powertrain and battery engineering.
Would you
He
call
did,
him number two?
I mean, yeah, probably in term of engineering is like the top guy. But Lars Morvery, which has also been at Tesla for forever now, is like the head of vehicle engineering. So he's more
Right.
like the head of in charge of this individual vehicle programs, like the programs director. I think report to him.
Right.
While Baglino is more like overall technology, feels like much like what GB was before.
Right.
So that's why it feels more like a CTO role.
And then Franz is design lead,
Yeah.
not typically a number two kind of role, but he's been
No.
pretty close and he's on stage quite a bit.
Yeah. He has a forward-facing role at times too, because he presents himself very well and talks very well too. So, in contrast to Elon, sometimes though Elon has been getting better, but anyway, we cannot like again. What this show this week is like we cannot complain about Elon having sometimes like being difficult to understand or to follow in his public speaking. It's like at least he gives you a lot. He gives you information, which is not always right information, especially when it comes to timing. But still it's more fun, let's say. So
I,
he did note that in the last 18 months, claims that Tesla has managed to reduce the average congestion on the network. So that was the question. That was what are you guys doing to improve congestion, traffic in the network? We've seen it every now and again, like just intolerable lines at especially in California and some areas where Tesla there's high numbers of Tesla per capita. He said they reduced that, but he did acknowledge that in some region it's still a problem. And he said that Tesla is now aiming to triple the size of the network within the next 2 years. We've heard that from Tesla before, and they didn't really stick to that goals. Of course, there was the introduction of the V3 during that time, the last time that Tesla had that goal, and there was a lot of delays to introducing the V3 superchargers. Was I think hindered Tesla achieving that. But right now, Tesla has almost 30,000 superchargers out there. So tripling the size of the network within the next 2 years, it's a big deal. Um, One advantage I think Tesla finds itself in right now in achieving that goal at that time is that well, if they have finally passed that infrastructure bill, which is not a done deal, but that there's 7.5 billion that's going to be unlocked towards accelerating EV infrastructure in the US. And we know that one of the requirements is that you open the network to more than one automaker. And at the same time, Tesla made that announcement that they're going to do that. So they basically signal that we are going after those funds to accelerate the Supercharger network. That's basically what they're saying. So that money is going to help them accelerate that a lot. But I don't think that money is also one of the big bottlenecks right now for Tesla in the terms of supercharger network. Is just it's hard to deploy a new station for not just for Tesla but for anyone. Like you need the uh, permits approval, you need to the connection, you need you need to find a host for it. You need to find a contractor. You need to have the deal with the electric utility, local electric utility. It's a lot of things that needs to come together at once to make them happen. And if you're trying, like now they have 3,200 stations, so if you're trying to deploy 6,000 of them within 2 years, managing 6,000 projects like that with just 700 days basically to do it, it's a lot of work. You need a
Yeah.
giant team to do it. A lot of logistics involved. All right, another information that came out during the meeting is that Tesla confirmed that they're moving the Model 3 standard range being produced at the Fremont factory to LFP, to iron phosphate chemistry, cell chemistry. And so this is something that Tesla sort of indicated last quarter when they sent this email to some people in the US, some Model 3 buyers, telling them that they could get a car with a different standard range, which made it sound like it's going to be the LFP. But that's the one thing that I don't like about Tesla. They're not being transparent about that stuff. Like
Yeah.
the email was cryptic, and like people didn't know for sure what they're buying. Am I buying a Chinese car? Am I buying an American car with a Chinese battery? What am I buying here? But what's that? Tesla did release a little bit more clarity into it, though not that much, to be honest, where they say that in the shareholders letter, the phrasing was for standard range vehicles, we are shifting to lithium iron phosphate LFP battery chemistry globally. So globally is the important word here because in China, where Tesla's standard range vehicles include both Model 3 and Model Y, Tesla already shifted to LFP. So now they say globally. So then we have to go to Fremont because those are the only other vehicles in production right now. And in Fremont, there's only one standard range vehicle, and that's the Model 3. So basically, Tesla is confirming that right now we are shifting the Model 3 standard range to LFP cells. Now that raises the question: where are they getting those LFP cells? Because the only production of LFP cells, this is a Chinese technology. LFP, like it's been developed in China and it's been only produced in China. I think Tesla buys their cells right now from CATL, and there's been a bunch of rumors that they're going to buy them from BYD too. Those haven't been confirmed. So are they importing the battery cells to the US, then making the batteries there, and then putting those batteries in the Model 3 standard range in Fremont? I don't know. Also, the fact that they didn't specify that it was just the Model 3 in Fremont, since that's the only other standard range, I would assume that maybe with Gigafactory Texas and Gigafactory Berlin, Tesla, not right away, but eventually might introduce a standard range version of the Model Y there and produce that for European and North American market. That it would make a ton of sense, especially if Tesla wants to get to a million Model Y a year. I think you need a standard range to do that, and so those could also be LFP. But then that was actually an analyst I think that asked that question is like, all right, if you're moving to LFP production globally, are you going to produce LFP cells locally? And then Baglino responded, yes, certainly. Our goal is to localize all key parts of the vehicle, at least on the continents, if not closer to where the vehicles are produced. So that is our goal, and we're working internally and with our suppliers to accomplish, and not just at the end assembly level, but as far upstream as possible. So yeah, this is a good example of like not really like a straightforward answer, but just like in general, they are trying to bring
Yeah, it doesn't promise anything or
yeah,
give timelines, which frankly, like,
it's safer for sure. Yeah,
safer and doesn't set expectations, which I know the Elon likes to do. Now, as
yeah.
far as LFP batteries, are they the same format? Are they like prismatic, or what do they look like inside the?
That's the thing. Generally speaking, we have only seen LFP cells that are in prismatic or pouch format. not
Right.
cylindrical cells like Tesla use, and we know that Tesla exclusively use cylindrical cells. So I'd be curious to see an actual LFP pack from Tesla being broken down and see that confirm that there are still cylindrical cell in there, which I would assume because Tesla's whole battery pack technology is built around cylindrical cells. But we do know that CATL, another company, has been working on 4680 format um, LFP cells.
Hmm.
So this is most likely what we're going to see in the future Model Y, future Model 3. Um, but
One of the commenters said the LFP cells are prismatic. Sandy
yeah,
Monroe uh, broke one down, I guess.
yeah, that's an interesting shift for Tesla because that would be changing a lot of their battery pack technology, but or modules, I should say.
I
Like,
feel like Elon said something about we don't trust uh, lithium ion in prismatic form. We only trust it in cell form. But he didn't say anything about LFP specifically.
mhm, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, there's also like the rumor of Tesla buying the BYD batteries with LFP. It's those new Blade battery cells,
Right.
which I mean, they call it Blade because they claim it's like a new format. But if anything, it's closer to a prismatic cell than a cylindrical one. So
Yeah.
that would be an interesting move too. And basically the blade cells, like NFP is already like a safer chemistry in itself, but
Right.
with the like slimmer blade like form factor, apparently that improves the safety even more. Like if it gets pierced, it's not going to catch on fire, or at least not spread to other cells and create a thermal reaction throughout the entire battery pack.
The BYD thing would be interesting because Elon has already talked a little bit of smack about
Hmm.
BYD
But they're
in
cars though.
the cars. Okay, in a Bloomberg interview.
Yeah, maybe in 2013 if I'm not mistaken, something like that. Been a while. All right. Yeah, Tesla last weekend started deliveries of the Model X, the refresh version, and what that does is that's bring back the full lineup. So in almost a year, Tesla didn't have its full lineup for sale, and now they do have their full lineup, and we had a better idea of the production ramp and everything. And I took a look earlier this week at the delivery timeline. 'Cause they got updated until I think on Monday they got updated, and for the Model X, it's significant because the long range version, which is the one that's being delivered right now. So for the Model S, Tesla started with the Plaid and then moved to the long range, which makes sense generally because Tesla always focuses um, on the more expensive version first, but they did the other way around with the Model X, and it right if you place a new order right now, you get a delivery in September of 2022. So you're basically waiting a year to get your car. For the Plaid, it's a little bit sooner, but not that much. Where did I put that in somewhere? July 2022. So it's not much faster. For the Model S, also been pushed for the long range version to June 2022. So also a significant wait. The Plaid is much faster. Though the Plaid apparently you can get it as soon as December. Yeah, December. It actually accelerated the timeline for the Plaid. It went from February 2022 to December 2021. So, and one thing that I would note too that I almost think it's a bug. I didn't check back since then, but the Model X Plaid, the Model S Plaid is still listed at $120,000. Well, at least it was back when I wrote this article on Monday. Let me check real quick because let's see if Tesla changed that. Because if they didn't change that now, it's a feature. It's not a bug, which surprises me. Um, Let me just go on the order page. I'm in Canada right now. I want to switch that to the US. US, okay. Purchase price. No, it's still 120. Okay, so basically that has to be a feature then. It's $120 for the $20,000 for the Model X Plaid, while the Model S Plaid is $130,000, $10,000 more. And
But
we
you're going to get it in a year or, whatever. So maybe that's part of the calculus.
yeah, but I mean it's so strange because
It is.
Tesla always sold the Model X for more expensive, and
Yeah.
technically this should be like it's the same car, like the same powertrain. Everything is the same. It's just in the Model X format, which is more expensive. Same thing for the long range version. Long range version, is the same in both car. It's just the format is different. You have the Model S format, the Model X format, but everything is the same inside. And inside you have $90,000 right now for the long range Model S and $100,000 for the long range Model X. So this is the standard. $10,000 more expensive for the X. So I really don't know what's happening there. It is strange. Might be the timing, like you said, but these are for new orders, both of them. It's not Tesla apparently still honors the price that they gave you when you ordered the Model X because that's going to change a lot with it did change a lot over the last year. But and even if you want to change your order, and we're going to get to that in a second, you might be able to keep your original price. For the Model 3, things changed a little bit. It was pushed to May 2022, so still you have a 6 months wait for the base version. And for the Model Y, it's a little bit faster, April 2022, but still because we know
So a
that
ways
Tesla.
off. Like
Yeah,
the winter will be over. The
yeah.
winter that hasn't even started will be over.
So these are new builds. It's if you place your order right now. There's gonna be inventory cars at the end, especially at the end of the quarter, that are made available every now and again. If you can take delivery fast, this can always be an option for you. So if you plan on buying a car, you can take that into consideration. But really, if you place a new order, that's what you should expect right now. So after Tesla started the deliveries of the Model X last weekend, I got a lot of questions from Tesla Model X buyers, people that already placed an order over the last 12 months. Because really, there's people that placed their order in October of last year and still don't have a car because even though Tesla stopped production in January, there's people that placed an order in October and weren't expecting them until like May or something of the next year. And then May became, of course, now basically production starts now of the Model X. But we managed to get a lot of information about at least what Tesla communicated to the employees. So again, the frontline employees don't know that much either. But Tesla doesn't know that much either, really, because they are still ramping up production. So really, the main piece of information is like next month in November, Tesla should have a much better idea on when people can get their car if you already have an order in right now or had one for the last year. Main thing is for now and um, for the first few months, so until at least the end of the year, Tesla only plans to produce the 6-seat version of the Model X. So if you have a 5-seat or a 7-seat on order, don't expect your car anytime soon. Now, Tesla did say that there's a possibility that you can change your order and get it faster, but they don't guarantee anything on the timing. And you have to talk to your delivery, your Tesla advisor to see if you can get the same pricing that because the price went up a lot on the Model X over the last year while the orders came in. So to get the same price that you were available for you on the 6-seat a year ago, whenever you place your order, it has to be approved by a Tesla director. So good luck with that. A few other things here. Okay, so right now, most of the people you either have a timing in Q1 or Q2 2022 on your orders. But if next month again, when Tesla's gonna have a better idea of the timing with the production ramp up, you should start to get an actual delivery window like January 10 to 22nd or something like that. So expect that next month. And Tesla also told employees that the software is not completed on the Model X. So if you take delivery of a early production vehicle, you should expect some software features that are missing and then come later on. But that's been the case with the Model S too. All right, should we do a little quick ad read?
Sure. We're again sponsored by Electrify America. This episode of the Electric Podcast is brought to you by Electrify America, which is now operates the largest coast-to-coast ultra-fast charging network with more than 650 charging stations, and it's still growing. Currently has plans underway for around 800 total charging stations, with more than 3,500 chargers to be completed by December of this year. And it plans to have more than 1,800 ultra-fast charging stations and 10,000 individual chargers installed by the end of 2025. That includes 50 kilowatt, to 350 kilowatt chargers near highways and 50 to 150 kilowatt chargers in metropolitan areas. The newly launched Electrify America mobile apps now offer contactless payment along with CarPlay and Android Auto integration, which is nice. And you can save up to 25% on charging with the new Pass Plus subscription plans. If you have a Mustang Mach E or a Porsche Taycan or an upcoming ID4, a Volkswagen, or a Rivian, you can also use plug and charge with many Electrify America stations. If you're an EV driver and want to learn more about Electrify America and its growing network of charging stations, find out what they're up to at electrifyamerica.com. That's electrifyamerica.com. Or hit up the link in the show notes. Thanks again to Electrify America for sponsoring this week's show.
Yes, thanks, EA. We have a few more news items that we're going to discuss, and then we're going to jump into the comment section in a few minutes. So if you guys have any question for us to discuss or any specific topic, you can put them in the comments right now, and you can put the questions in all caps so that we know it's a question and not just you guys talking to each other, which is fine too. But it's helpful for us. So the other big story this week for Tesla was the Cybertruck. So there was this prototype that was spotted in Central California, in an airport in Central California, and Mr. Jesse Sandoval posted on the Cybertruck Facebook page a quick video of it. Okay, when I say quick, I mean quick. It was that's it here. So it looks like it was testing its turn radius. Also, it's potato quality here, so it's hard to tell. But there's a few things that we can confirm from that vehicle, and is first of all, there's side mirrors, something that wasn't on any prototype before. So that's the first thing that click a light here. It's like, is this an actual new prototype? Because we couldn't confirm that Tesla had more than one prototype of the Cybertruck until basically now, and we had employees that told us, and when Tesla brought the Cybertruck to Gigafactory Texas, that the people that were in charge of the prototype there said that this is the only car and the only Cybertruck that Tesla has in the whole world. So that was only a few, like 3-4 months ago. But this with the side mirrors, it points to this might be a new prototype. And then Elon also commented, because of course the goal of not having side mirrors was to have the cameras and have better aerodynamic performance. But this is something it is allowed in Europe, but not in North America yet. There's efforts to change that, but it hasn't been successful just now. And Elon did comment on it, and he said that they are designed to be easy to remove by the owners. So it does sound that Tesla might still have the cameras down there, but then you can remove the mirror parts and have a smaller footprint for the better aerodynamic if the laws change, or if you just decide to go rogue and to remove your side mirrors.
Yeah, I guess it's like having a license plate on the front of your car. Some people, like in states like New York, where you're supposed to have one, just don't have one, and they'll get a ticket every once in a while, but it's the price they pay. I just wonder, like, is his commenting on it specifically doing him any favors with the National Highway Safety people? Like,
yeah, we're gonna get to that in a second. But yeah, and also if you look at the very beginning of the video, and again, this is not easy to see, but it looks like they're testing the turn radius, and it looks like it's doing a very sharp turn, like a very quick turn at the very beginning here. You can see it, and it looks like the rear wheels are moving. And this was actually confirmed during the earnings, because that video came out like the day before the earnings. And where is it? Right there. Who confirmed it? Is it Lars? I think it's Lars. Yeah, Lars Moravi confirmed it. He said that the video that he specifically referred to, the video on social media, it confirms a few key additions like rear steering. So it does show rear steering there. It didn't specify the degrees of the steering or anything like that, but it's apparently on that prototype. And then it confirmed that Tesla did produce a number of alpha prototypes, and now they're moving to the beta phase. So Tesla does have several Cybertruck that they are testing, so that's great news. In terms of the timing, he didn't elaborate much on the timing. Tesla did reiterate that production going to start subsequent to Model Y. We know that Elon has recently referred to late 2022. Tesla stopped referring to that, using that term late 2022 for Cybertruck timing, sticking now to after Model Y, which again is supposed to start by the end of the year. But I think they're more referring to after a ramp up of Model Y production, they can start focusing on Cybertruck production. So I think just to be safe, thinking about late 2022 is better for our sanity.
You think it'll hit 2022? I mean, the fact that he's not saying 2022 anymore is a little bit
Mm.
worrying. If you're
No, but no, I think 2022 is feasible for sure. Maybe, but not high volume. Like volume is not
right,
going to come until 2023. That's certain. But yeah, I mean, it is an improvement. Like we're seeing like more prototypes. Like this is good news
I,
in my opinion.
yeah, I mean,
Um,
more prototypes are good news, but I will say that if Tesla thinks that it can deliver one vehicle before December 31st of
mhm,
that year, they will say we're going to deliver it in that year.
mm,
And the fact that they're no longer saying that is a little bit worrying. That's all. That's my
yeah.
point.
All right. The other big story this week in the Tesla universe was this appointment by the Biden administration of a new senior safety advisor for NHTSA with a focus on autonomous driving. So basically, a new watchdog for autonomous driving and NHTSA. Something that a lot of people will argue that is needed. Like this is like a very disrupting technology that's coming, and NHTSA's job is to make sure that new technology are being deployed safely in the firm. But the background of the appointee, Missy Cummings, has raised a lot of red flags with the Tesla super fans in the Twitterverse. I'm calling them Tesla Twitter now because I don't want to call them super fans because there are super fans that are not, they don't attach themselves to this group on Twitter that like basically lives on Twitter and are extremely dominant on that platform.
But there's
Uh,
also Tesla people on Twitter that are not, these people.
these people,
We
yeah.
we get we got to continue to work on that
Yeah.
nomenclature.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But they are extremely dominant on that platform. So that's why if they don't, if there's like more reasonable people that don't want to be associated with Tesla Twitter, then try to make Tesla Twitter a little bit less of an aggressive space, let's say. Because let's review the facts here with Missy Cummings and the red flags that really started this whole thing. So the red flags are the one that's would be the most credible is just that I think has been blown out of proportion is that she is an independent board member on Veoneer, which is a lidar company based in Sweden, and she has a stake in it, of course, as a board member. She's awarded stocks, so this is seen as she's regulating. She would help regulate a space where she's actively invested in financially. So obviously this is a problem, and the Tesla Twitter they took a problem because it's especially lidar, and Tesla is on not anti lidar, but they think that it's not required to achieve autonomous driving, and it shouldn't be used. I think you don't even refer to it as a crotch at some point. Um, so that was how they saw a red flag. But my understanding, and I reached out to NHTSA about this. I haven't heard from them yet, but I asked if she's gonna have to divest from those shares, and I assume that she's gonna have to once she's get sworn in. Like I didn't see any very particular thing regarding NHTSA and holding a position on the stock, but there's a bunch of other ethical guidelines for other government employees, and it sounds like she's gonna have to. So this is like kind of a non-problem, something to maybe keep an eye on if she doesn't do it. But I think it's just like it's in the works, really. So I don't think that's gonna be a problem. The bigger problem, I think, and the one that's being more talked about, is that she's seen as anti-Tesla. She's been labeled a member of the Tesla Q, which the Tesla Q in itself as kind of it's a different thing now because it used to be just people that are short Tesla because you can tag on Twitter TSLA, so Tesla stock, and TSLAQ, which is like the negative version of that stock, the shorts. But it has evolved because of like the Twitter war between the Tesla Q and Tesla people. It just has evolved into Tesla naysayers and pro Tesla people. So it's not even. I don't think you have to have a short position on Tesla. And you probably don't. If you look at the shorts interest on Tesla lately, it's at an all-time low. Like there's not a lot of people, there's not a lot of big money at least shorting Tesla anymore. And good for them because they'd be in trouble right now. So yeah, she has interacted with some Tesla Q members, retweeted them, subtweeted them, whatever you want to talk about them. And what is the biggest issue in my opinion? She used the Tesla Q block list, which blocks a ton of Tesla Twitter people, like Tesla super fans and whatnot. And I don't blame her too much for doing that because I know how those people can be, and they can be extremely harassing on Twitter, and they can be annoying as hell. And if you don't want to interact with them, you block them. However, using a block list, I'm not on board with, because then you're letting someone else decide who can and cannot interact with you. And you can have people that never interacted. I mean, you never said a bad word about you, never like harassed you, anything like that, and they're gonna be blocked just because well, technically it would mean that they are harassing someone else, but sometimes, of course, like it's not that, like they said something that some other person don't like, and then they cannot interact with you because of that. It's not ideal to do that, but I wouldn't blame her if she would have used the block list after what happened this week, because it just went nuts. Like the Tesla Twitter took a completely adversarial approach to her, tried to cancel her right away when they announced the appointment. And I mean, it's inexcusable, really, what the thing they said to her. If you We saw some tweets that are just like appalling, misogynist tweets and all that stuff. Like it's it, again, unacceptable, really, for like not representative of the Tesla community that I know for sure. And but even taking the terrible comments aside, like the ones that are inexcusable, if you look at the actual approach that they took and to cancel her and everything, I think there's issues with her. Like I think she doesn't have the best understanding maybe of Tesla's technology. But why try to cancel her right away? Like, why not take an educational approach? And like, do you think, like, if she does get appointed right now, okay, and you're canceling it for it fail, what do you think is going to be her feeling about Tesla right now after she's
Oh,
getting
I
like
mean,
being called?
she had to delete her Twitter account.
She deleted a Twitter. She was being called a B word, C word, and all those
Porn
words that you're
star, like they were. I
a
mean,
porn star because of
her
her
name.
name, Missy Cummings. Um, I mean, that probably wasn't one
A
that.
little silly.
Yeah,
You know what?
she
The
probably has been
irony,
getting that all her life. But
the huge irony of this whole thing is like her worst attribute is that she's like bad on Twitter. Like she's like, takes things a little too far, says things she probably shouldn't say as an
Mhm.
academic and as a, neutral party. And, somebody who's going to become a neutral party, she, with the memes of like her punching out a guy, or, saying white men or something, or, like probably not advisable.
Yeah,
Like,
she's definitely on the woke side of thing, which is like it's basically what you have to be in academics these days. But like the woman has great credentials. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
great.
yeah.
Like,
You have to give her that. Like
you can't,
she
yeah.
computer science degree from big university, an
Fighter
engineering
pilot.
degree
She's a fighter
for
pilot. Come on.
one of the first women in the Navy of becoming a fighter pilot. Um, then she became a professor at Duke University. She has her own lab, and her lab focuses on testing and autonomous driving technologies and other human machine interactions, which is pretty much what you want from someone that's going to regulate that space.
Yep.
So now the problem is because I think the Tesla Twitter is already um, they see Biden as the enemy right now. They see the Biden administration as the enemy because of a few things, because of the White House event thing with Ford and GM
They can get invited.
that Tesla didn't get invited to. Then the union thing for the reform of the incentive, which is being pushed right now, though it's not happening
Which
just yet.
might never happen. So
Might never happen.
yeah.
But I think this one is a fair point on their part. Like this union thing is definitely gonna hurt Tesla. But to be fair, I don't think Tesla is really the main. I mean, it's going to be the most affected out of people that are not unionized because they produce more electric vehicles than anybody else, and that are not made by union workers. So they're going to be the most affected for sure. But it also hurts like Volkswagen. It hurts Toyota. Well, not Toyota until they produce EVs in the US, but like all the other a bunch of other foreign automakers that don't use union workers.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
VW plans to make a lot of ID4s next
yeah,
year in the U.S. So
but the real reason is that they won the union vote, and the unions are like, this is the real problem is the unions are strong within the Democratic Party. The
right,
Democratic Party needs their votes, so they are being giving them like, oh, you pat our back, we're gonna pat yours. Like this is the whole issue there. I don't think Tesla is being singled out on that front, but it is a problem. I admit that. The whole White House event thing, they need to get over that. This was a P- purely PR stunt where Biden, because a bunch of automakers were siding with Trump over the emissions standards, and now Biden took over, and Biden was like, uh, all those automakers dropped out of the lawsuits, and then Biden was like, look, I convinced those automakers to go all electric instead of those emission standards becoming less strict. So he made this whole announcement that has, by the way, zero teeth. Is just saying that their goal is now to be all electric by 2025 or 2030, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. And they were like, yeah, we convinced those bunch of automakers that are producing gasoline cars to go electric. Like Tesla, they didn't have to convince them. Like there was no value. And it's like, look, Tesla is going to be all electric by 2030. It's like, yo, we're already all electric. That doesn't
right.
matter. So like the fact that they were upset about that and Elon was upset about it, like I don't understand that. I do understand more the union thing, but even then, I don't think it's targeted at Tesla specifically. So they already see Biden as this enemy that's just leaving Tesla aside and targeting it or whatever. And now this has to be another Biden move to hurt Tesla because Missy Cummings doesn't like the autopilot, doesn't think that it does exactly what Tesla has been marketing, which are like she has some fair points. I think that autopilot is the best driver assist system on the market right now. Her and I would probably disagree on that, but I mean, let's talk about it instead. Let's not just attack the woman, try to cancel her, send her mean tweets because she said that she doesn't believe that Tesla is going to be full self driving taxis by the end of the year, which she's right about, by the way. So, like, uh, if the Tesla fanatic, like Green Gold just said right now, should just try to not take the same energy that they have to make Tesla look good in making the Tesla community look good and not making us seems like rabid fans that are gonna like get at your throat if you sneeze on your Tesla. Like that would just that alone would help a lot, I think. And and you know what? I hope that she's okay because I know what this feels like. If you're not like she's an academic, she didn't have a used Twitter account or anything like that. Like she's not used to getting like Twitter hate like that, and she was boom by it. Like and she probably like already like used to it a little bit because like she was using the block list already. So you know that she was getting attacked before that. But this was a whole new level and like the ridiculous petition on her like the to get her to not being appointed um, that make her sound like she's like someone paid by the shorts to attack Tesla. Like, there's no evidence of that. Like, there's plenty of people that don't like the autopilot. There's plenty of Tesla owners that don't like the autopilot. Like, they own the Tesla, they own several of them, they keep buying them, but they don't use autopilot because they don't like it. Like, and are those people anti Tesla too? No, we can all have different opinions about these things without being anti Tesla. Um, and there was even a comment from me before this whole thing happened, which she says she loves Tesla. She just disagree on how they do self-driving and even level 2 driver assist system. Can we just start from there and then build up from there? Like, oh yeah, she loves Tesla. Now let's try to educate her on autopilot and what Tesla is trying to achieve with the vision-based system, the neural nets, and move from there. Anyway, that was my little rant about this.
Yeah, I agree fully. And
Yeah.
I think it's weird because, these Tesla people who are very animated and
Mhm.
the idea is like they want to help Tesla, and what they're doing is actually the opposite.
Hmm.
Like I know a lot of people who are like, yeah, I would like to buy an electric car,
Hmm.
but the Tesla fans have really turned me off that vehicle.
Yeah.
So, show me a VW ID4 or,
And
what,
you know what? Here's the problem. Like you say that, and they don't believe you because they live on Twitter,
right.
and they get this close feedback loop where they're like, no, like people, everyone agrees with me. Like you see, like all the retweets that I get, all the likes that I get, like they all agree with me, and they think that this is the true Tesla community right there. Like all these people that retweet me, like they all agree with me. All of Tesla community agree with me, and like spending too much time on Twitter is not a good idea, in my opinion. Is
It's a good general statement.
Yeah. All right, sticking with Autopilot, Elon did release a tidbit of information that was interesting this week, especially for Tesla 2.0 owners, where some of them were complaining that they had a perfect score. Sorry, they had the perfect score and they didn't get the FSD beta. And like, hey, what's happening? Because today, if all goes well, Tesla released 10.3, and people with the 99 of Auto 100 score gets it. So technically, everyone that had 100 should have the software right now. And uh, people that had Autopilot 2.0 with the FSD computer, so they already had the FSD computer upgrade, they weren't getting it. And Elon commented that yes, they will get it, but the tweet, okay, they will get it, but they will need a camera upgrades as well as the FSD computer. So the FSD computer was, I think, if you bought full self driving package right now, you should have the FSD computer already retrofitted. I don't know that Tesla hasn't done that yet. Maybe in Europe or something like that, where they haven't released more FSD features. Yeah, that could be the case. But I think in the US it's done. But now they still need a camera upgrade. So this is something that was rumored to be happening because we know that Tesla upgraded the cameras a while back, and they remained silent. So maybe they thought that they could still achieve some kind of FSD capacity with the old cameras, but now apparently it's not the case. Uh, Elon did say that, and without saying any timing for the upgrade, that would have been nice to know. Like, because this is a big, like, this is an issue for those people that already bought the FSD package, and now they're like, oh, I don't even have all the hardware yet. I thought I had the hardware, and now I don't. When I get the hardware, because then in the meantime, you spent money for no reason. And also, is it just one or two cameras? Is it all eight cameras? Because all eight cameras, that would be kind of a big endeavor here. I know that some of the cameras are easy to replace, like the modules on the side repeaters and on the pillars are pretty easy to change. But the front-facing cameras, the whole thing there, that's a bigger thing to replace. And I mean, if it's all eight cameras, it's a lot of time really to do it. And if you have to be fair, it's not going to be so high volume because it's Autopilot 2.0, which I think lasted like a year and a half of production of Model S and X production. So it's not going to be a super high number of cars because it's within those cars, the one that bought FSD. So we have no idea how many, but I mean, it has to be probably in tens of thousands, I would assume. So,
Yeah, I mean, that said, these are the people who've been on the FSD bandwagon the longest. They kind of deserve to be, out there. They bought FSD 5 years ago, like, or 4 or 5 years ago. So like they should really figure figure it out. Like they need to replace the cameras and the thing, get
yeah.
it done.
Green, the only, of course, when most knowledgeable people outside of Tesla about the Autopilot confirmed that it's the RCC camera filter on those cameras that needs to be replaced. Well, but I don't think you can replace that within the camera, so you actually have to replace the camera. But so he said it's not really an upgrade; it's just really replacement. But yeah, this is something that needs to happen sooner rather than later. So hopefully, Tesla can communicate some kind of timing and some kind of retrofit schedule for those people because yeah, it's like you said, those so a lot of them probably have bought FSD a while ago. All right, so earlier this week, you did an interview with the COO of Greenlot, a shell company. That if you don't know about it, maybe you should because it's kind of an influential company in the EV world that people don't talk about a lot, right?
Yeah. So Greenlots about 2 years ago got purchased by Shell, and at the time, I believe Jamie wrote the article. We were a little bit I don't want to say paranoid or skeptical about like, hey, what is Shell's ambitions here? And Shell, a typical or a traditional oil company, isn't just buying Greenworks. They've made a whole lot of green investments. I think they're kind of trying to hedge, their investments going forward. So it's not like you know BP or Exxon or the Saudis buying green stuff, although that's happening as well. But so on one hand, we kind of wanted to feel out the situation to see if, hey, are these people actually serious about EVs, or are they just trying to own and possibly disrupt one of the main things that EVs do, which is fast charge on the road. One thing that may scare some people is that Greenlots, the company that Shell bought, actually, so they have their own charging stations out there, and those chargers are typically a little slower, like a 50 kilowatt, and they're Chatamo and the same as like EVgo, but they also control the software, and they control the software for Electrify America. I think EVgo. I know they do the software for New York's Evolve, and they've got their hands on a lot of stuff. So, like, if Shell had ulterior motives and wanted to do something, to slow EV adoption, they could mess up the software pretty easily, and so that's a little scary. I don't want to go too tinfoil hat, but anyway, the conversation with her, things I wanted to talk about were plug and charge. That's the standard, like the Mach E and the Rivian and Porsche Taycan, and soon the ID4 will have where you can just grab a charger, put it in your car, and it starts charging, kind of like a Tesla. EA is the only company currently doing that in the US. Ionity is doing it in Europe. It's like anybody who knows anything about EVs knows that that's the future. What I wanted to hear from her was like that, agreement. Like, yes, this is a super high priority, and we didn't get that. She knows what it is. She had some knowledge about it, but it didn't seem like it was a super high priority. So I did my part in relaying like, hey, just my point of view. Plug and charge. What is it? The ISO 15 something. Um,
15118.
yeah, 15118 standard is something that everybody needs to get on board with immediately, from car manufacturers, charging companies. Everybody needs to know what it is, and everybody needs to get it sorted out. One frustrating thing is the Chevy Bolt in Europe has plug and charge. In the US, they don't. I don't know why. Maybe it's because they don't want it to work on Electrify America too easily or something. Don't know, but it just doesn't seem like the industry gets the importance of this particular standard. And so, I relayed that to her. She understands that. And, we talked about that. We talked about, Shell is building 500,000 chargers globally over the next couple of years, which is a huge amount. Like when you think, we were just talking about Tesla's charging, tripling their chargers. We're talking about Electrify America's got chargers, coming fast and furious. Well, Shell is also coming fast and furious with chargers all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
They're also in Europe, obviously. Royal Dutch Shell is based in, I think, the Netherlands. So that's a big thing. But along with that, they're kind of thinking differently about what they're going to have with those chargers, because you're staying a little bit longer than gas. Maybe you have a bigger experience. Maybe you have a bigger store, more shopping items. Maybe you don't just have food. Maybe you have clothing or other, mall type options available. So they're thinking about, they're kind of like resetting their expectations there. So it's a fairly good interview. I think she's very PR savvy, so we didn't learn anything super new, but it's good to see where their heads are at.
Kind of like the Tesla earnings, really.
Kind of, yeah.
All right, that's pretty much it. Let's jump into the comments.
All right. Let's see. So we got some information about the
Mm.
LFP being prismatic. Um, Jesse Knox is wondering if today's stock price indicates there's going to be a stock split. I feel like Elon addressed that a little bit ago, saying not in the immediate future. Do you remember specifically about that?
Yeah, he said at the shareholders meeting that they might in the future do it again, but not at this kind of price. What was the price when Tesla did the stock split last time? Was like 1,500 or something, 1,200. I want to say.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, so I would expect something closer to that to do it right now. But I think someone else was asking like if the new all time high accounts for the stock split, and it does for sure. Like the new, Tesla has now achieved a new record valuation, if you will. That's the important part at $900 million.
All right, Spike43 asks, when will we see superchargers with the dual cable design in the US? I don't
Well,
know that we
Tesla,
will.
yeah, I don't think we will either. Or at least for now, Tesla has indicated that CCS is going to be used to an adapter, so not the dual charger that Tesla has implemented in Europe for a while. Maybe it will eventually, but not for now.
Yep. All right. Unions will not be a problem for Tesla, in my opinion, says Jeffrey Hampton. But what do you guys think about China US tensions?
There's definitely worrying things coming out of China right now. That it's a big market for Tesla. It's a big market for everyone. So it's something to keep an eye on. But yeah, I mean, it could be a problem, especially if they start another like trade war where we see Tesla seems to be indicated that they're gonna import a lot of Chinese cells right now, something that they didn't do before. So something that could be a problem there. But yeah, also like the whole housing crisis that happening with Evergrande and all those companies that are having issues there, like kind of a recession coming in China could be a problem for Tesla too, and just because it's such a large market.
Asal442 says, when will the US start building chips that are as good as China chips so we can be independent and not held hostage by lack of chip maker? Well, I think the US makes quite a bit
Mm.
of chips.
No.
Intel obviously has some plants here. Samsung has a huge fab in the Austin area, which is probably where Tesla chips are going to be made. So I think it's just the whole supply chain and also getting a lot of cheap labor, which uh,
Hmm.
China really excels at. All right, Roller 20 says, so when will FSD be truly level 4 or 5 autonomous? Then 2070 with hardware version 12. Probably before that, but maybe not as quick as we've been hearing lately. What do you think?
Yeah, I actually had the opportunity to test drive FSD beta for the first time
Oh,
recently. I won't get into too much detail. I might talk about it next week if all goes well. But quick reaction, real quick. Like I did a good hour in it. So just like the headline would be something like incredible computer vision capacity. Like perception is appears to have been solved. Decision making is far from being solved. Works okay in residential areas, suburbs, country roads. Absolutely not ready for city driving. Not even close. um Sometime not confident enough, sometime too confident.
hmm. So robo taxis by the end of this year, unlikely.
Impossible, really.
Impossible. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, Roller 20 also says, at this point, I'd rather have an ID4 than a Tesla. The only regret would be no supercharger.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the big, like every other EV maker, you're giving up the superchargers, and that's
Yeah,
painful.
but Electrify America is growing fast.
Yep.
So
And Shell as well,
yeah.
theoretically. Too much Twitter is bad for your health. Okay. Let me get to some caps locks one here. Uh, oh, that's it. Um,
Someone said that Missy Cummings is not completely innocent here. She has posted some very anti-Elon tweets in the past, even one insinuating that she would punch him if she saw him. Eh, I mean, okay, she's not innocent in this situation. That I completely agree with. Like she as I mean, you have to take put yourself in people's shoes. Like she's being testing autopilot in her lab in a way to be critical on it. Like she has to be critical on it, and she has like to find like the weaknesses and everything. So that's you have to go from her point of view. Um, Now, for the tweet that you're referencing, and she talked about like sitting down with Elon to discuss the or problems with autopilot, and then she said like another person who's also critical of autopilot, we needed to be her to hold her back, and then she posted a gif of a woman punching a man. I mean, this is not ideal. I understand like this is not like professional like way to converse and to you on that, but I think she meant it more in a way like she wouldn't hold any punches against Elon or something like that. Like it's not really a threat of violence. Like if anyone is threatened by that, like come on. And then on the other side, you look at the Tesla fans, what they've been sending her over the last week, and I've seen some way worse threats there than this GIF of a woman punching a man in the face. And I don't, of course, condemn that either. But
Also, I mean, it's comical that like their biggest complaint about her is her being like not great on Twitter. Like,
yeah,
you know, the meme lord has had his Twitter issues as well. So,
yeah. Let's not talk about the pedo tweet.
all right, roll a 20. Do either of you have a Rivian on order? Have you heard anything about delivery? Well, yes, both of us have Rivian orders. I
Yeah,
think I'm a little bit more serious about mine at this point, although mine is a way more recent than yours, Fred.
yeah. I placed one whenever I could, 2018 probably.
Yeah.
And I was told that the vehicle would somehow launch in Canada same time as the US, which, as a dumb dumb as I am, I believe that. Which, of course, with my experience with Tesla, I should have known better. So there's not any time of delivery timeline for me in Canada. And then Seth would have been closer to get his if he didn't wait until actually test driving the car. Who does that? Who waits to test drive a car before
I know.
ordering it? Talk about,
I know.
yeah, it's
I you know I was
old timey habits that,
I was gonna get one beforehand, and there was other things like I have a Cybertruck on order. I wanted to see when the Ford would come out, and so I wanted to see all of them. I kind of wanted to put them all up against each other because they're
mm,
all kind of like good options. I'm not even a truck guy. Like, I don't even know why I'm buying it. Whatever.
mm,
But we go to Vermont every weekend in the
mm,
winter. It would be nice to have something that could go through a bunch of snow and stuff.
yeah.
So that's why we're in there.
And I'm moving in the country, so I need to have a truck to fit in with the country
Right.
folks. All right. Hey, thanks everyone for the show. It was a great show this week. Enjoyed the interaction. If you did like the show, please give us a thumbs up. That helps the show for some reason, or comments down below. That also helps. If you're listening on your podcast app, you can give us a 5-star review. That helps a lot too. And we're gonna see you same time, same place next week. So have a good weekend.